Hey everyone, it's the Michael Greenwood Show. Today's guest is Morgana Marie. Welcome to the show, Morgana. I'll just let you introduce yourself.
Lovely, thank you, Michael. I'm Morgana Marie, and I'm a high performance business intuitive and theta healer and elite private advisory for male visionaries, CEOs, people who are trying to create something different in the world, bring something unique to the world. And yeah, we kind of dive into the areas of energy blocks and things that you can't see. So you feel like you're held back in your life or in your business. That's what I can perceive and see. So we clear that and we can move you forwards with ease so you can succeed with actually greater ease.
Amazing. So, first question then, I'll dive straight in with this one. Early experiences. So, if you want to unpack this and take me right back to how did your early experiences shape your approach to well-being and your personal transformation, and then obviously leading to your wanting to help other people.
Yeah, I've been through some major challenges in my life. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, like so many near-death experiences. So many different things have pushed me to really almost wake up and come back and realise that actually I'm here for greater, I'm here for more. And every challenge that I've ever had, whether it's been like a financial loss or a physical loss of someone or a feeling like I've lost myself in the process, it's brought me back to actually I'm here for a greater purpose, because the experience that I go through is the experiences that other people go through. So where I am now, I'm sort of coaching, facilitating people who are where I technically was 16, 17 years ago, mentally, emotionally. And for me, going through my own challenges and learning how to come through them, what I had to learn, what I had to change, what shifts I needed to make, that's enabled me to step into a place of greater well-being and success, like from a place of soul, heart and soul, rather than just from a place of like force or ego or hustle or grind and everything that we're conditioned to be. It's unlearning all of that. So all of my challenges, I say, like whatever I've been through, have taught me that there's choice actually to choose something different and to learn differently and to adapt and to never give up.
You mentioned a few things there which resonate. So, talking about not forcing and using power,
Yeah.
and do you want to just dig into that a bit? Where just frequencies and energy, and just for any of the audience who doesn't understand that, and
Yeah.
maybe law of vibration, law of attraction, and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so we live in this world of energy, like everything is energy around us. We are energy, we're just made up of like molecules and particles, and believe it or not, we are energy. We have this physical form, and really energy is everything. So we have the ability to manipulate or change energy to how we would like to change that. And that's where the law of like magnetism or the law of attraction, the law of energetics comes in. And the laws are universal laws that govern how this earth world is created, and we can actually have the ability to use these laws to our advantage rather than our disadvantage. So for example, the law of attraction, which is something that a lot of people have heard about and know about but don't really know how it works, relates and correlates to vibration. Now everything's a vibration. We have a frequency. We either have a frequency of lack and scarcity and fear, and you think about the energy of that, it's heavy, it weighs you down, it slows you down, it's tension, it's contraction. And that's what's happening a lot in people's lives, in their bodies, in their businesses, in their income. Now ultimately we want to shift from that place of lower vibration or contraction to expansion. So we want to shift the way that we think, our beliefs, our energy, to a place of creation and choice and possibility and abundance. So how do we even like get to that point of even thinking that? Well, we've got to acknowledge these beliefs that we have like the energy that we're actually functioning from through self-awareness. And self-awareness, acknowledging that, is how we actually start to change that. You've got to be really vulnerable with yourself and go, okay, I seem to be choosing lack here, or I seem to be choosing some form of scarcity here. How do I change that? And that is the first step, really, in changing that vibration. It's the awareness point.
And how does, like, if you give me some practical examples of if somebody wants to start to explore this and maybe open the mind up to, you know, from perhaps doing the same thing again and again,
Yeah.
and expecting different results, as we know, that's Einstein's definition of insanity.
Yeah. It's insanity,
Going from that
right?
fixed mindset to that growth mindset, and starting to be a bit more open-minded and maybe introspective. Have you got any? How would you make a start with that? You know, some baby steps with that.
Yeah, so how do we move from this place of even getting to the point where you've got to be willing to look at that first? So you've got to be willing to be really honest with yourself and vulnerable and say, well, actually, look at your life. So look at your life and look at what you don't like. Look at what's showing up. So do you find that, you're always stuck in traffic all the time? Do you find that you're always in car accidents all the time? Like, what keeps repeating? Do you find that you keep attracting people that just, are trying to drain you and you feel like drained after speaking with them? You've got to be willing to look at what that is, because actually what's happening here is we're creating that in some way. We're creating that through our belief system. So everything that's going on outside of us is a mirror of what's going on within our subconscious mind and our energy. And that is really the first step in recognizing, well, if I'm creating this, then I can uncreate that and change it. And that's when we can start to take that little baby step to recognize and actually own that. No judgment. It's not about blaming yourself or judgment or, going into all of that energy, because you'll just create more of the same. And I would also say a big one is like a practical example. Like, I see this a lot and I still do it sometimes. I am, complaining. If you're always complaining, and if you're always complaining, you will have more to complain about, because you amplify that. You amplify that belief, like, oh, this isn't working, this isn't happening, it's not working fast enough. And the more you focus on that, what happens is a loop gets created, like a subconscious loop in our brain, our subconscious. And then we attract that. It's again the law of attraction. We attract. So we've got to go, okay, I choose not to function from that belief anymore. And I ask a question. I always say ask a question. Like, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible here? These are great ways of just rewriting that script straight away. And just ask these questions. It will change your life. It sounds so simple and pragmatic, but it really is the simple things.
I remember that famous quote, just resonates with me, just reminded me, neurons that fire together wire together. So if you keep having those same thoughts, it's like an elastic band where it kind of, you get an energy. So if you let it go, it's got that kinetic energy, isn't it? You mentioned something. I just want to unpack that a little bit with give you an example. So if I'm, when you're in a rush, you mentioned traffic. If you're in a rush, you seem to get a tractor in front of you, or you seem to get a bus in front of you, or you seem to get a learner driver in front of you, because you're attracting that and if you rush and get all anxious and negative and I'm going to be late, the reality of the situation is that you're only going to be 2 minutes late anyway.
Yeah.
And obviously fear, as we know, is false expectations appearing real. So we're building up that, what if we get there and we're late, and we something really bad's going to happen. But really, if we just relax into it and accept reality, we're going to be 2 minutes late. Okay, let's relax. Then we'd have a better time, wouldn't we? Because we're staying in that high vibrational frequency. Do you want to unpack that a little bit, just with that example of people watching this must have noticed that when they're driving somewhere or rushing about, and they seem to start to attract this negativity.
especially when it happens, like when you need to get to a really important business meeting, or you have to get somewhere, and what happens is we subconsciously put this pressure on ourselves to perform or get there on time, right? Which actually kind of creates this pressure to push against it, and you push it further away. So in fact, what actually happens is you make yourself later than you need to be, because you're forcing. So what happens is we need to be aware of that, which takes this a level of an awareness to just be present with what you're doing, which is that split second of just going, hang on a second, I'm creating this. So why? And then when you come back to yourself and you realize, okay, why am I attracting this? Or, how do I change this? Is a great question. Like, how does it get any better than this? How do I change this? I always command from the universe, like, universe, help me to get to this place with total ease by this time, allow me to get there early, allow me to travel to the location without any delays. Like, be intentional. This is a great way that you can actually shift the energy and shift what you're creating in that moment, or before it even happens. And I would say it's really important to be aware of what you're already assuming or presuming or concluding. So if you decide, oh my God, I'm going to be late, then you've already concluded that you're going to be late. So you've created all these scenarios to be late. It's ridiculous, but we create it. And no judgment, but we create it. So if we can create it, then we can uncreate it. And I would say it's just that split second of going, oh, hang on a second, why am I doing this? What is it about me that I'm actually resisting? Like, do I even want to get to this business meeting? Is it making me feel nervous? Like, what am I resisting as well? Because a lot of the reasons we make ourselves late, because we do, is because we're resisting something, or we're nervous, or we don't want to get to that meeting because it brings out anxiety, or we might be perceiving someone else's energy that's going to be there. And there's all these reasons why this happens as well.
Do you think that we're able to switch to another timeline then? As in, I'm thinking of the book, I don't know if you've read Reality Transurfing.
Love reality transurfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been studying that. Do you want to drill into that a little bit, or unpack that, switching to a different... Because if my perception is that when I'm driving and I'm in a rush and I'm attracting more negativity because I'm getting into that low vibrational frequency and I get a tractor in front of me, is it as simple as I've actually, that tractor wouldn't have been in front of me, or that bus, or that learner driver? Is that, could that be true?
Yeah, 100%. 100%, because it's that ability to be aware that you do have choice as well. So in reality transurfing terms, if no one's ever dived into these principles, there are multiple realities. So we have the choice to either be in the reality where we're going to be late, be in the reality where we never turn up, and we get distracted, and we never go to the meeting. We have the reality to choose, to get there lovely and early, calm, relax, and we're ready for the meeting. So absolutely, and that is all through really just conscious choice and just saying yeah, I want to get to this meeting. I've seen it time and time again. The days when I'm not intentional, and I'm in a rush, or I'm on autopilot. If you're functional autopilot, got to do this, got to get here, got to go here, do this. I'm not really being intentional. Are the days when everything just is pressure, everything's stress, and we've chosen to not be intentional. So really, we've created that, or we've chosen that path for that day. We've chosen that. So really, it's down to that conscious choice. But we have the ability to change that path in every second. I always say live life in incremental seconds, because what you did yesterday, or even just a second ago or a minute ago, doesn't mean to say you have to do that again and again and again. You can just decide to go, okay, well, my day was planned to do this, but actually, what do we want to do today? Maybe you should do this instead, and then that changes the whole course of your day, and it could turn out greater than you ever imagined. But we're so wired, I guess, for structure and routine, and thinking that that's what actually creates what we want to create, but not necessarily, not always.
And do you want to unpack, tell me about some of the clients you work with then, and how you help them in this kind of journey, and how kind of um, obviously they come to you because they've got a specific need or an hurdle they want to overcome, or shall we say a concern or even a problem.
Yeah.
What are the kind of success stories that you've had, and do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, recently, especially I was working with someone who's got like multiple businesses. I mean, his major business was recruitment, and he's a recruitment agency, and it's just stalling. There was just this stalling happening in the business, and didn't know why. And so what I did is just sort of tuned in energetically to the business. I can actually just tap into the energy of it and use my intuition to do so. And I get the information come through for that and what needs to change, what beliefs need to shift, who needs to change, what needs to change, all these things that need to adapt. And yeah, I just fed that feedback back to him. I was basically like, your business partner is got this belief mindset of just enough. So that's why he's creating just enough. And he's not out creating. So that's one problem, which is not allowing the business to move past just enough. And then there was other people in the business, several people in the business who were like, there was no team morale. There seems to be this kind of energy of a competition, and they're not really in the business. They're just there for the money, and they don't really care about the business. They don't have a vision. Then that's a massive energy leak in the business. So that was causing, again, another reason why the business was stalling. So looking into that, we had to actually let those people go. You had to let those people go and actually recruit two different candidates who were visionary, who had an abundance mindset, who really wanted to be all in with this. And he kind of knew this, but I was just giving him that courage and that trust and also the confirmation that that was the case. And then once we changed that, like, his income tripled, like, just after that one session. This is like £1 million, company, like, beyond. So I can't remember what the figures were exactly. I do have them on my website, but yeah, it was just that one thing, or these two little things that needed to change. And then he felt a lot more lighter and more relaxed, and like he could like trust himself more to make a better decision, to be more assertive, to have a conversation with his business partner, and things have started to change from there on now. Like, his business partner's stepping up more, and yeah, it doesn't function from that lack mindset so much now. So that's just one session, for example. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you use your intuition, which is part of your higher faculties. So we're taught at school we've got five senses, but then
Yes.
we've actually got intuition and all those. Do you want to? How did you actually notice that energy? Then what's your process for that?
Yeah, I guess for me, through my own challenges and experience, I've learned to trust my intuition, because there were times in my life when I didn't trust my intuition and everything just went bad. Like, I'd lost a lot of money, I'd lost relationships. There was such stuff happened to me that I knew it would happen. I knew it, but I second guessed that and I doubted my intuition. So my learnings taught me how to trust my intuition. And when you learn to trust it more, and I've had to go through a lot of learning development, I've done a lot of psychic development, intuitive development. I've dived deep into the tools of theta healing, and this has helped me strengthen my intuitive abilities and my energy awareness of situations. And so I've really developed this ability that I have to the point where I just know now, and I don't doubt it anymore. And I don't just know for myself, but I can perceive the energy of others, whether they're in the room with me, whether they're in a different place, from afar, because intuition is something that is always there. We've just got to be willing to listen to it and tap into it and actually acknowledge it. And the more you do, the more it strengthens. And mine is very strong. I'm naturally very hyper aware and hypersensitive of so much anyway. So, yeah.
So just for anybody who is kind of they feel that they're living the same 6 months again and again, and they're kind of just letting the neural pathways fire again and again, doing the same thing, and almost like stagnating.
Yeah.
What would be advice to start to tap into intuition and what your next move should be. It could be something like, say, somebody's stuck in the same job. And if they're stuck in the same job, they want to be in the same job and they don't want to change, obviously, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, horses for courses. But if they actually they want to do something different and they don't know how to do it, perhaps they've got responsibilities like children, they need to be, you know, have a certain amount of money coming in. What can be the first steps in making that change, do you think, and start to listen to the intuition about the next move?
Yeah, I would relate this to a lot of people who are transitioning from a full-time job to a entrepreneurial place. So I recently worked with someone who was a teacher for 16 years and now he's shifting into creating a photography business. So you can imagine that's like, oh my God, how am I even going to make money from photography, from creativity, from art? I can't even see a way forward. So we've got to firstly adopt and realise that your leadership or your teaching mindset, your employment mindset is very different from an entrepreneurial business mindset. It's completely different. So, you know, you're responsible for charging, you're responsible for asking for money, you're responsible for everything. You are your own boss. You've not got someone above you kind of behind you going, do this, do that, this is the deadline. You are the deadline. So that is the first step in realising that the mindset that you had in the jobs and that job mindset or career mindset is very, very different to an entrepreneurial mindset. And if you try to function from the job mindset or the old mindset, it's the ultimate, you know, it's going to set you up for challenges and you'll find it really hard to push past any limits that you have, because that mindset, it's not wrong, but it's a certain limit. You know, you've got a reference point for that. So you've got to be willing to create a new reference point for an entrepreneurial mindset. And that is, you know, thinking differently and being able to change your relationship with money, your relationship with people, because you're not coming from that like teacher perspective anymore. You're building a completely different relationship in a different way. So it requires like a whole identity shift, really. And once you do that and you realise that, and you actually have to identity shift who you are, or what you be, that's when the energy starts to change. And then that's when you start to actually realise that, yes, you can make money from this, and you do see results, and it is possible. So you go from like this impossibility to possibility. And that is what will allow you to actually create that in your life. Personally went through that myself, so I can actually speak from my own experiences with that as well.
What does your day look like, Morgana? What's your typical routine?
Yeah, it's interesting. As you say routine, I don't really have one. I mean, ultimately, I'm very much an intuitive person, as you know. I don't get up and go, right, okay, by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I've got to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. I don't even create to-do lists. A lot of people would. I function very differently. So for me, I wake up and I literally ask my body, what would you love to do today? Body, what are we going to focus on? Well, what part of the business are we going to focus on today? Like, I ask questions a lot. For me, I'm a fan of questions, because questions create movement, they create the energy flow, and they stop you making a decision that doesn't, you know, work that day for you. So for me, you know, get up, actually get into a good zone of good vibe, put some good music on. Like, if you think and function from like, what I've got to do, like, you're just building, you know, stress up for your whole day and you're functioning from pressure. But if you kind of get yourself in a nice vibe, you know, get hydrated, move your body, and then start from that place, you'll find that the energy flows better. And yeah, function from question. Like, what am I going to focus on today? Or business, what requires my attention today? Who do I need to speak to today? And then I follow that, so I follow the energy. And that's how I kind of function through my day. I do take plenty of breaks. I'll never just work like all the way through from like 9 till 5. That doesn't work. Sometimes I'll start later on at 12, finish at 4, and then that'll be it for the day. And then some days I can do 10 hours, and then I'm still got loads of energy. So that's what works for me. And that's what I would say, like, find your own rhythm, find what works for you. in your business, because you don't have to do things by 9 to 5 standards or like 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. You know, you make your day your own, but plenty of movement, plenty of hydration, and always, always do belief work, like working on your beliefs. Because if you're trying to create your day from impossibility or, oh my God, I've got so much to do today, like where do I even start? You're setting yourself up for instant, not failure because I don't like that word, but you're setting yourself up for challenge there and then. So, you know, try and bring some like question into it and like expansivity to your day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I watched a podcast recently, and the premise was that discipline, you can take discipline, so the ability to give yourself a command and follow through too far, and that can actually inhibit creativity, and that was quite an interesting thing that I've not
Absolutely.
considered. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got to find balance with it. There's nothing wrong with discipline, but everything is required. Like, if you're just in creative flow and you're creating all the time, but you're not actually doing anything with that creativity, then you've got to find some form of actually actualizing your creativity into like the result. Or if you're always trying to do, but you're never just being or allowing and enjoying your time, then you're just going to burn yourself out. And you really can prevent that. You don't need to kind of burn yourself out. So
Yeah, just reminded me of something actually. So kind of flowing throughout your day, going with the ebbs and flows of like a river, or if you imagine that you're
yeah,
at the seaside and you just kind of got your legs, your trousers, your whatever
yeah.
rolled up, and you're going with the ebbs and the flows, and that's power rather than trying to force things.
Oh my God, yeah, because you're being in that like trust and abundance of like, yes, everything's good, everything's. And even if you don't believe that, because you might take you a while to believe that, because your mindset might be so wired for like, oh my God, I have to do to get.
Mm.
But the more that you just be, and the more that you have allowance, and you're in that space of relaxation, that's when things actually happen. Your ideas will come, or you might
Mm.
attract a client out of nowhere. Like, honestly, every time I do that, that's when things come. And I still find myself getting to old traps of, oh my God, I've got to post like 5 million times today. I love posting, I love creating things, that's why I post a lot. But it's not actually posting 5 times a day that really give me the clients. It's actually when I'm in that space of allowance and kind of vision, being or being in the energy of that's when it comes, that's when it happens. Getting into that place of like calm and like everything's okay, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to work out. Like, trust is massive.
How important is having a vision then, having a big goal, having a North Star, that's fixed in the sky and it never moves, and you're steadfast in it. And I just kind of unpack that for myself a little bit. I've often set a big goal, which is a
Yeah,
lot bigger than, it's big enough to get me out of my comfort zone. But then
yeah,
I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I believe, the law of vibration, everything's moving, nothing's staying still. And then the law of attraction, so I'm going to attract those opportunities.
mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of figure it out along the way. It's a bit, there's a book called Ready, Fire, Aim, where you don't procrastinate, you don't get into analysis paralysis. You just have an idea, make a start. You say, right, I want to triple my income or whatever it is. Or I want to make me whatever my yearly income is, my monthly income. That's a Bob Proctor one. Do you want to unpack that a little bit? How you approach goal setting and the importance of having a vision and actually imagining that you're already there in that 2.0 version of yourself, or the 3.0 version of yourself once you become
Yeah,
2.0, because we're leveling up throughout life, aren't we?
yeah, always leveling up. Yeah, if you know your vision, then you know that vision's gonna like. It's a given. Like, this is a bit more spiritual now. So we have our soul contracts and what we're here for, and we're here for a reason. We do have that soul contract and our purpose. So that vision that you have, that's always there, it's going to happen regardless of whether you think it's not or not happening fast enough. It's always going to happen, and no matter how much energy you put into it or not, it will happen regardless. It requires a lot of surrender and allowance and just vulnerability and letting go of control. The more you let go of control, and where you're trying to like grasp for things and you're trying to force it, and it's like, oh my god, it has to happen now, like need, no judgment again, you know, we get into this energy of that. But the more you let go of control and you just push your barriers down and you come to this place of like, it's already given, it's already done. And Neville Goddard, I'm a fan of Neville Goddard. He was like, his teachings are amazing. He was like, it's already done. If you see from that place like it's already done, that energy, that frequency, because that's true relaxation, it's like, of course it is. So that is kind of what I would, you know, go and study a bit of Neville Goddard. He's a genius. In fact, reality transurfing has got a lot of correlation to sort of Neville Goddard studies and things. And yeah, he really taught me how to just surrender and see from if it's already done. So like, what version of yourself would be like, what would they say, like what beliefs would they have, what would you be wearing, like being in that energy of that. Activate your senses, you know, being in that car, being in that house, like what does it smell like, what does it think like, what do you think like, what do you speak like? And when you're in that vibration, you literally, you are manifesting that. I have a perfect example of this recently. So I've always wanted a Lamborghini. I love Lamborghinis. Like, it's a goal of mine. I don't really have any like other material goals to get a house and things, but Lamborghini, like, hell yes. But years ago, that would never be in my reality. I would never have chosen to like think about having a Lamborghini. But the more I've been in this vibration of wealth and manifesting and having, I'm seeing them now. I'm actually seeing them more and more. I saw like 3 the other day on the motorway. That never used to happen. So
That's your reticular activating system. That's your RAS, your reticular activating system.
Exactly. You are literally, your mind is so focused on like, you are that. And the fact that you're actually attracting that, is, for me, that makes me feel like, oh my god, I'm getting closer to my goal. So that's what I would say. Like, if you're trying to kind of goal set, think about if you have that thing, or if you do that, or you know, you manifest it and you actually have it, like, how would you feel? What would it create for you? And that's when the blocks may come up, like, oh my god, I might be lonely, I might like have all the money and then lose it all. And you've got to be aware of those beliefs, because you've got to clear that first to actually be willing to allow that to manifest. But yeah, perfect example there.
And you're attaching that emotion to it.
Yeah,
You're attaching that emotion.
Well, you're touching your energy. Don't get too emotionally invested. I would say the problem that happens with a lot of people is they get so significant or so emotionally invested in that goal. Like, and what happens is you make it so significant, like it has to happen. If it doesn't happen, oh my god, my life's gonna, like, you know. If the more you like solidify that significance, so like I need that, the more you actually block it. So you've actually got to drop all significance and attachment and to having it. It's a constant awareness of like, where am I making this so real, significant? Like, how am I making money, for example, so significant? Because money's just energy. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like when you're in a sales call, you've got to detach yourself from the outcome of it. So the way I see it is you're putting the inputs in, and then energy has to be transferred somewhere when you put in the inputs in there.
Yeah.
So when you're making positive inputs, you're going to be sowing those seeds, and it's just staying in that high vibrational state more often than not. And that probably leads me on to a question about, I'll give you an example. If somebody's in a job and they're around gossip and negativity, and obviously negativity is energy and the energy of negativity is low, how do they deal with those, I suppose you could call them energy vampires? I think that's how they're referred to in reality transurfing. How do you deal with that? You know, if somebody close to you, because they say that we're the average of the 5 people we spend most time with. How do you protect your energy? I suppose a two-pronged question. And how do you kind of distance yourself from that. And sometimes it's easy; you can just cut people out, and I've cut a lot of people out who've been negative, and I've tried to change people, but people need to change and want to change. You want to unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, this happened so much to me when I was like early on. I didn't know about energy at all or what was happening. I just felt drained every time I'd be with a client. I'd be like, why am I feeling drained? Oh, I've taken it all on. So as sensitives and empaths, a lot of us are, we often absorb this energy because everything's energy. We have this aura around us. We are energy. We naturally want to take that on. We absorb it without even realising we've absorbed it. So the first step really is recognising that energy or that pattern that you have, like, oh, okay, where am I taking on other people's beliefs or energies, and where am I aligning and agreeing to that? You know, like if you're in somewhere and someone starts complaining about something, it's so easy to go into complaining, go, oh yeah, me too, yeah, I get it. Oh, and you're relating to that person because you're trying to relate or build a connection, but you actually don't need to do that, because that actually might not be your truth. Your truth might be like, oh, well, actually my life's really good, but you don't want to stand out or be different because, you know, you don't want to be judged. So you've got to be willing to be different and kind of go above and beyond that negativity, and not buy or align and agree to that person's reality, really. It's like we mimic the people around us. I call it as a clearing for this, called biomimetic mimicry of other people's pains, pathways and realities. And we literally mimic people around us, whether it's a physical problem, health problem, belief system, money problem. And if we don't recognise that that's what we're aligning and agreeing to, or resisting and reacting to all the time, then we keep creating that pattern. So it just takes, again, this level of like awareness to go, I'm actually not going to align and agree with you here. And if you're absorbing that, and I always say return it to sender. Return it to sender with consciousness attached. You know, you're kind of giving it back, but you're giving them some consciousness with it so they can change it as well. And yeah, just not being at the effect of that. It takes practice. It's not something you just do once and then your life changes. It's something that you consistently have to choose and be aware of. And yeah, you also have to kind of release this pattern of wanting to take people's negativity on in order for you to have peace and peace at work, and because we also do that too. So yeah, just be aware of why you do it and what does it give you to take on people's negativity or problems, or because there is some second gain. Like we have a second gain of why we do anything in life, and it's normally some crazy reason. Like it gives us peace. It gives us peace at work because then no one else is being negative. We can just take their negativity on, but it doesn't change anything. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. Gotta be aware.
How do you overcome a limiting belief? If you don't mind sharing, Morgana, what is there a limiting belief that stands out to you that it had almost like a Pareto 80-20 effect, where it were a little change that had a big impact and some big results for you?
Success is lonely. This is a massive one. Success at the top, being at the top, is lonely. So if you've got this point of view or belief, then you're probably not going to be successful, because who wants to be lonely, right? So this is a big one in men, and I feel it because I've been there too, where I just wouldn't outcreate or outgrow my partner, or I had the fear that I would outgrow them or I'd be more successful than them, and I don't want to lose them, I don't want to be alone, I don't want to lose, you know, and we get ourselves caught in this belief of success is lonely in order to stay small and limited, and it limits us. And instead of actually going, no, success is, I can actually attract more people, like my partner can step up with me and rise with me, you know, function from that, that's when we can actually make a change and shift, and actually inspire them to do so as well. That's a big one. But also really fear of success is massive for a lot of people. Even people who they would not class themselves as successful, even though, you know, me perceiving them they are successful. Fear of success is massive. It's huge. But shifting fear of success, and it will enable you to make a massive quantum leap to, you know, say you're doing business one way and you're feeling drained, exhausted and burnt out because you're attracting misaligned clients, to, okay, I'm willing to be successful and willing to receive like bigger money, clients who are invested, clients who are actually a joy to work with rather than draining. And it's a massive shift to actually have that in your business. That's something I've been working through a lot recently myself. But yeah, fear of success and success is lonely are two massive limiting beliefs.
And what about using energy in healing then? What's your take on that in terms of healing the body, healing the mind as well? Because obviously the mind's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, the mind is so powerful. It can either be working for us or against us. Let's, acknowledge, what it's creating for us and what we can change. So for me, I've always been a healer. I've always been just very sort of healing to be around. And, I've had many men just cry in front of me. And I think that's a massive gift. Like, what is the wrong in crying? Like, let it all out. Just let it go. And there was a healing in just being truly vulnerable and open and letting it all out, which gives you space, it gives you that healing, and it enables you to be able to create from a place of like energy, rather than, oh my god, you've been carrying like weights and weights and weights of burdens and fears and like regrets, and all this energy is just slows us down. It's like walking through treacle and like mud, and we're not in the 1940s anymore, right? So we're in 2025. We have to remember in 2025, and that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to actually express and let out and release. That is the healing. And then when you do that, you realise, well, what was I worried about the whole time? There's no judgment. No one's judging you. And then you free up your space to receive. So I'm very much, teaching a lot of people how to receive, not how to get or force the thing, but actually how to receive. Like how to actually have someone come to you or someone give you, and someone, you prioritising you, and that's healing as well. And that's healing not just your energy, but your body as well, because when you learn how to receive, you learn how to nurture your body, you prioritise your body, you prioritise your health. You're a greater person, not from trying, but from a place of being.
I see I suppose my paradigm on how to learn is to put myself into challenging situations. You want to talk about that a little bit in terms of, I think, look, I'm thinking about Sandy Gallagher, who says about looking for the good in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Can you think of a particular bad situation where you've overcome that challenge, but then they said when you're going through hell, keep on going. You don't want to stay in hell. You want to maybe talk about something like that?
Those are these ones. I think I had a financial one. I spent like $5,000 on some sort of crypto investment thing, and I knew that I would lose that money. And I knew it was like not legitimate. Again, this was part of my learning to trust my intuition, and money's money come back to you. That was massive, but at the time I was functioning from making a decision quick and needing the money, like forcing. I was like, I need this, it has to work now. That's all I have, there's no other possibilities. I was functioning from limitation. And look what happened. I basically spent $5,000 and lost $5,000. And also lost part of myself in the process. So, it was a massive regret, but also allowed me to go, okay, where can I choose better? Where can I be much more intuitive with my decision making next time? And okay, how can we create that money back now in a way that feels congruent with me? That's massive in terms of like a financial one. And in terms of like relationship one, my last relationship was probably the most toxic relationship I've been in. I was not in a great place either. It takes two. I would say that it taught me how to again, listen to my intuition, not feel like I have to sort of heal and save the person and try and fix them and change them, because I knew that they were never going to change or they weren't the love of my life. But I was in denial. about all of it, and I thought, oh, actually, no, I can really make a difference and really help this person, but they weren't ready to change, they weren't ready to heal, and it wasn't my place to heal them. It certainly wasn't my place to heal my partner. So I learned the kind of hard way in a way, but it's part of my journey. But what it taught me was stop giving your power away, stop giving your energy away, because he gained a lot from me, like financially, energetically. Like, I changed his life, pretty much. Not regretting that, because good for him. Like, I really hope he's doing well now. I generally feel that for me that was a massive gift for me in disguise. Like, he taught me how to step back into my power and how to reclaim my gifts and energy, and realise how like powerful I was. Because abusive relationships, they say, I read something the other day, like the reason we choose abusive relationships is because it's so powerful. We're trying to stop that abuser from abusing anyone else. And I was like, wow, that really hit home. I was like, yeah, I've done that a lot with people. So yeah, it was a massive like awareness for me, like a gift, I would say, in that really challenging time. Yeah, enabled me to be able to manifest my partner today. He was a healthy one and a good one. Not that he was a bad one, do you know what I mean? I don't believe in good or bad, right or wrong, but yeah.
So, any regrets then? How do you view regrets? Do you think it's something bad happened that you overcame? Are you glad it happened because you're the person you are today, or if you could go back and change that, you'd be on a different path, wouldn't you? What do you think to people who spend, or what do you think to the rather than people? What do you think to the practice of thinking about the past too much and regretting and getting into that negativity?
Yeah, this is a massive part of the work that I do as a theta healer. We're constantly clearing like regrets or resentments or rejections, like the 3 R's. We call them the 3 R's because most people will live their life in these 3 R's the whole time. Just repeating the same loop, or in that trauma and drama and karma of it all, and just keep creating the same. And if we actually acknowledge the regrets or everywhere we've been rejected and the resentments we have that really weigh heavy on us, and we forgive that. So I had to forgive that partner, and I also had to forgive myself for the choices that I made. It enabled me to be able to move forwards, and it enabled me to be able to make a change. If you can't forgive and you can't let go of your regrets and resentments, rejections, then you're going to be living in the past. You'll live constantly in that loop. Whereas if you forgive, and it doesn't mean forgiving or forgetting, it doesn't mean forgetting what happened because you remember that. It just means that it enables you to be able to move forwards and liberate yourself to create a different life for yourself. So it's that catalyst to actually shifting. So
Talk to me
I'm
about...
always working on them.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm always working on them. I would say for anyone out there that does carry regrets, resentments, and rejections, write them all down. And I always say, just do a bit of a forgiveness practice with them, and just imagine you're speaking to that person, or you're speaking to that version of yourself in front of you. What would you say to that person? What would you say to yourself? And then let it go. And it always just shifts. It just makes you feel so much lighter. And you let it all go, which creates the space.
And what do you think the opposite of fear is then? So false expectations appearing real.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? False expectations appearing real, false evidence in it. Fear, yeah, what's the opposite? I would say possibility. Definitely, because fear is like, oh my god, it's impossible, I can't do it, it's not going to happen ever. It's solid, it's conclusion, it's just like all limitation. Ability and creation, really, is the opposite. Because when you ask the question, like, what else is possible beyond this fear? And your subconscious mind naturally will go, well, there's this, and you can then create that and choose that. That possibility gives you a different path to go down. And we live in an infinite world of infinite possibilities, even though it doesn't always look like that with what's going on in the world right now. But we do actually have choice, and we do have possibility. You've just got to be willing to be in that paradigm. It's a higher dimensional paradigm to be in, like 5D or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we have that. possibility all the time.
I'll tell you a story from a few months ago, and I think this happened to me because of the connectivity of things, the connectivity of the universe. So my partner Vicky, we live near a place called New Milladam. It's a lovely place to have a walk around.
Yeah.
And Vicky said to me, "Do you know which famous person's just visited there?" And I said, "Pierce Brosnan." And I honestly did not know that knowledge. But how do you think that came about? I'd not looked at it on the internet. It was just in my mind. I'm a James Bond fan. So he is within my sphere of knowledge in my head.
Yeah.
But I didn't just pick it at random.
Because you're intuitively tuned in. You probably got the sense of him, you probably got the awareness without even realising you had the awareness. But yeah. And you trusted your intuition, you just said it anyway. So you're willing to be vulnerable and get it wrong, but you were right, so.
And yeah, willing to be vulnerable and taking a chance. And I think we care about what people think about us, but obviously if their opinion doesn't count, we don't do. And obviously there's this concept of failing forward as well, isn't there? What do you think about? There's people who take chances, and it's educated risks, isn't it? And obviously I think you can. I think in business you can take a big risk, and it's usually a risk through force where you've ignored your higher faculties and your intuition and everything. But what do you think? Do you think failing is necessary to learning and moving forward anyway?
Yeah, it's a weird one because I would say if you want to class it as sort of failure, I don't see it as a failure. I see it more as like a part of your learning, really. So the more you count these things as failures, the more you're kind of setting yourself up for failures. You kind of function from this belief of like, I have to fail in order to learn, which is actually not the highest truth. The highest truth is that we learn lessons, we do go through these learnings to grow, to evolve, but it's not necessarily a failure. It's just the way that we've defined it as a failure. So I've tried multiple things with my businesses and obviously multiple relationships, and I always thought I was a failure at relationships, but really it wasn't a failure at relationship. It was a failure to trust what I know and not listen to myself. That was the learning. It was the learning to trust my awareness and my intuition. Yeah, like there and then, rather than go through the journey. But I honestly believe there's no right or wrong with that anyway. So yeah, don't sort of catastrophize in that space of like, oh my god, I've failed again, because it's not failure. I don't see it as failure. Yeah, I see it as definitely learning.
You work with predominantly men?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there can be the ego, and then I think there's say if a man's, give an example, going to the coast, going to the seaside. I don't need a map. I don't need to read the instructions for the flat pack furniture, and his family are watching on. His wife perhaps, and he knows he's driving the wrong way, but he'll carry on driving the wrong way for miles and miles. Have you experienced that with any of your clients? Obviously, without any naming any names or anything, but have you seen that where they know they're going in the wrong direction, but they just keep on going?
Yes. I have to be very gentle with them. Sometimes gentleness is required. Sometimes a bit more of being a bit more direct is required. But when they're ready to hear, I've also learned from my clients that when they're ready to hear it, they're ready to hear it. And so there's pointless times of repeating it over and over again and saying it because they're not ready to receive. So they receive it when they're ready to receive it. And that's for them to choose that when they're ready to receive it. Literally, you can't force your client to sort of learn the lesson now, because it's their own unique journey. And when they're ready for it, they'll be ready for that. And they eventually go, okay, I'm going to drop that ego now I can. And I've found that, when, as a facilitator or a coach, when you let go of what you're, trying to be the best for your client and do the right thing and, give them everything they need, when you actually relax and just realise you are actually just facilitating them and they're here to make the choices, you can't make choices for them. They've got to do that themselves. that's when it tends to happen. And they're like, oh, yeah, actually, I'm ready for that now. Because again, it's all about force and pressure. If you're trying to force at them or put some pressure towards them, like, you've got to make this decision now, they will, like, men don't function like that. They won't. They will just be like, nope, 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 nope. And you let go of that attachment or the expectation of it, that's when they do it. And that's cool. That's just different. And I found that.
Just going into meditation a bit then, because I'm quite into guided meditation. I follow Dr. Joe Dispenza. Bit of history on me. I've tried meditation. I did some karate. I did some kickboxing. I always watched movies when I was a kid, watching people meditate. I always thought it looked cool and a bit different.
Yeah.
I've got a little tattoo on my back, which in Chinese means to be different. So I got into that kind of culture with Karate Kid, and I like kickboxing with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But I always struggled to get into meditation because of the furnace or the entrepreneurial thoughts whizzing around, until I found guided meditation, which there is sensory, and I've got to focus on it, and it's not overpowering, but it's very, I'm kind of concentrating on it. A bit like when you're concentrating on, I can get meditation from reading a non-fiction book, because I can think, all right, you're drifting, Michael, you're getting your ADHD brain, focus on the words so that can be very meditative as well.
Yeah.
Also, I plan some time in my diary as well. It doesn't have to be, a fixed time in the day. It's just when, half an hour to have some thinking time, so I can take a step back and, start to, just relax and get that calm confidence and everything. Well, is meditation a big part of your life, and is it something you teach your clients as well?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because when I was struggling, mentally and things, one of the first things that I looked at was like meditation and yoga. Like, yoga changed my life. It taught me how to be present. It taught me how to be in the moment. Back then that really helped me. But I would say that I've kind of made my life a meditation now. Like, my life is a meditation. I'm always like present, or being in awareness of what is, and like that higher perception of the world and things. I let it all come in now, and that's what meditation's about. It's not really about shutting it out. It's more about just being allowance of all of it, and that is like meditation, I think, because you just flow with, you flow with it and you be with it. And so I wouldn't say like I sit down and meditate. I can't struggle. I have ADHD. I can't sit down and just go like, I'm bored in like 2 seconds. For me, like, if I would do some form of like meditation, go for a walk, connect with nature, and go swimming. Even my gym is a meditation. I'll breathe and, do my weight slowly and, be present with it. So you can make your life a meditation with everything you do. And, what you wear, what you eat. If you eat your food in the morning, like, you're eating it on autopilot to rush it and get it down, or you're just taking like and eating it slowly. Yeah, it takes a lot of like awareness, just make your life a meditation, I think.
More mindful about life in general, and
yeah.
What do you think to the?
It's not always that easy, though. It's not always that easy. Sometimes it's really hard, especially times of the month when, for me as a woman, like when we're ovulating or on our menstrual cycle and things like that, it's like, oh my god, my brain's just on overload and my sensory levels are just like through the roof. So that's when I find it harder to sort of be in the present moment, and normally get more emotional and things like that. So I just have allowance for it now. Yeah, and men have that too. Men have hormones. Men have, their time. I would say men have their times of the month. It's obviously not like, a menstrual cycle, but they still have their times of the month when they're more sensitive than other times of the month, and just have allowance for it. And that is a time for yourself to slow down a little bit more and just be more mindful.
Makes sense, because I can sometimes wake up and I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm really not feeling it today.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself some time, and like a few weeks ago on a Monday morning, I would have been raring to go on a Monday morning, but it seems to be in business, it's the opposite of being employed. It's like I used to dread Monday mornings as an employee, but I love Monday mornings as a business owner. And I just went for a
Yeah.
walk. I just did
Yeah.
10,000 steps. I were out for an hour and a half. I did have a meeting, I think half 11 or 12 that day. But I thought, right, nothing in my diary. I'm going for a walk, unscheduled. Let's do that. And it got my energy back, basically.
Absolutely. See, that's what your body wanted, right? It's the willingness to listen to actually what our bodies need and want to do, rather than our heads in autopilot going, yeah, I've got to do. But body doesn't want to do that. That's why it's like, you're not feeling it. Because if your body wants to go for a walk, then your body wants to go for a walk, and then when you come back, you can start.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really having that connection with our bodies as well.
Mm.
So yeah, good for you.
There's something so strange I've got to tell you about a couple of days ago. I got a migraine. I've been suffering from hay fever, and I got a migraine. And it was about 5 p.m. and I had a client meeting at 6 p.m. So a discovery call with a brand new prospect, and I had to get rid of this this migraine. So Vicky got me some migraine pills. I had some migraine pills, and I started to meditate to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And then after that, I would just laid down. I felt better. And then, like on YouTube, where another video comes on it, where a podcast interview with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he said the neurons that fire together wire together, and that was like top of my mind. And I brought it up in this podcast as well. But the client said the same thing, and I said, "Oh, that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza said in this podcast." And I know it's not from Dr. Joe Dispenza; it's somebody else, isn't it? That I can't recall the name.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. I've heard that as well, because one of my
Yeah,
mentors used that as well, and I was like,
yeah, but
yeah, I don't know who says that, but it's so true, so
it was
true.
so strange. It's almost like I feel that the universe were telling me, gave me because if I hadn't to had the migraine, I wouldn't have done the meditation at that time to give me the energy back, and
Yeah, exactly.
just I needed to be grounded, because it were like, if anybody who's watching this ever feels like I had a pain in my head, basically a migraine, and I tried to lay down upstairs,
Yeah,
and meditation was the only thing. I had the pill as well, but did the meditation, did a cold compress. The meditation instantly took my mind off it, and I focused on it. Yeah, I'd say rather than taking a painkiller that's really, really strong, or something like that. And I don't want to get in, I won't get into like medical things. I'm not a GP or anything like that. But I'd say try these alternative ways of, doing things, and your mind is so powerful. And I couldn't have gone to sleep. I was thinking, shall I have a nap? I started to panic a bit. I started to get into low vibrational energy, but I just calmed
yes,
down. Right, what can I do? I'm going to meditate. And I think it was the universe giving me that quote, and that built a connection and further rapport with that prospect. And I landed that client. So I got a new client from that meeting. I don't think that would have, it might have happened anyway, but you never know, do you?
no, you never know. You never know. No, because if you're gonna be in the energy of like, oh my god, I'm stressed and I've got a headache, and I can't even look at the screen or whatever. Like they'll feel that. So you needed to have that like downtime to rest and just give your body what it needed. Sometimes the body just needs acknowledging as well. That's what I found. Like, if you've got a pain in the body, it's like your body's way of going, hello, like give me attention. And when it gives you you give it that attention, and you'll find that the pain goes, because it's just like needing acknowledgement, and you did.
Mm.
Good for you.
I've got one more question for you. And I've been pondering this. So, like Einstein and Steve Jobs, and I don't know if you've seen The Fly with the Jeff Goldblum version. I think it's the one from the 80s, and he wears the same. It's for decision making and not depleting too much energy. He wears the
Yeah.
same costume, and Jeff Goldblum in The Fly says, "Oh, Einstein used to have the same or a similar costume, all the outfits, so he didn't have to make that decision." And it's based on, let's say you've got 100 units of 100 decisions you can make a day, and if you make a big decision or a small decision, it's the same one out of the 100, like 1% or whatever. I'm just interested in how energy flows into you and you keep it. And do you know, like when I used to have a job, I used to sit down at 9 a.m. and then I could be 2 minutes into a task and I'm tired. like that, and but then I can be doing another task, and it's giving me energy. How does that work then? How can I work so much? I know I've got a passion for it, but how can I work these? I've got to say I've burnt out a few times in business, and I've now learned to kind of not borrow too much from another day, but I can knuckle down if I've got a big deadline. But how does that work? Why do we get so tired when we're doing something that's not kind of aligned with our purpose and everything?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's your body's ways of basically going like, no, this is not for me. Like, I don't want to do this. Right. So you can either just ask to. I always connect into the creator or divine, and just be like, can you please just help me do this with total ease? And I generally like if it's a heavy admin task or tax return, or I'm like, oh, gee, I feel like you feel the heaviness of it straight away because it's not my zone of genius, right? So you can delegate what is required, but also I just really command ease with this. And it's like I'm channeling with the creator, because I always do. And I manage to do that task with greater ease because, again, I've been intentional. So if you feel like something's feeling heavy or hard, generally it's not ultimately true for you, because you don't want to be doing it. But if you can't delegate, then just go up and connect into the creator. Like I do this in a kind of form of meditation. Connect to the creator and just say like, creator, can you just help me, assist me? I also do bring in my like angels and guides and spirit guides and beings of light, I call them, because I work with my little spirit team and they help me too. So yeah, I do that as well, and they actually do help me to do things that I really don't like doing, and it really works. So I do what works. Just a little task, little request for a bit of help, makes a world of difference.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and you, thank you so much.
Yeah. How can people find you then, Morgana?
Yeah, sure. So I am on my website, which is www.morgana-marie.com, and LinkedIn, and Instagram as well, Morgana Marie Business Intuitive on there.
Brilliant. Well, we should do this again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you. I love talking about all this.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll see you
Cheers.
soon.
Take care.